Hello everyone and welcome back to Genuine Chit Chat, the podcast. We're going to help you grow through what you go through. Today I'm here with Faye, who's an absolutely amazing woman. She was diagnosed with lupus at the age of 27, which made a complete spiral in her life, and she's now completely changed her life around. Has got 3 businesses, is the Bad Bee Academy on Instagram. She's a guide and mentor, and we'll find out all about what she's been through and how she grows through what she goes through. So yeah, let's get into it. Welcome back everyone to episode 9. So Faye, could you give us a bit of a story to when you were first diagnosed and what really went on all behind that?
Okay, so I had a really great life. I was with my husband, who was my boyfriend at the time, had a really good job. Like, I was an office manager. I was just living the life. I was going out every weekend, just having a great time.
Yeah, classic.
And just classic. And I started to get really poorly, so I started to just get like lots of joint pain.
Oh yeah, do you want to explain what lupus is?
Oh, that's probably a good idea.
Yeah.
So lupus is an autoimmune disease that affects the joints, and it can affect the lining of your organs and like prevent them from working. And it can also affect your brain in like you get like memory loss and brain fog. And some people get like skin rashes and stuff like that. Your hair can fall out. I had lots of like lesions on my scalp that were like painful and sore, ulcers. Just basically your body's just like, no, thank you.
Yeah.
So I started off with lots of joint pain, and it started in my hands, and I went to the doctor, and they said, it must be because you do lots of typing, like repetitive strain injury. And and I know you said this when you shared your story, when you're like,
You think
I
it's
know
a little
something
bit more than that. Yeah.
Especially because I wasn't really somebody that really got ill, like nothing had really happened to me up until this point. And I was like, So I was like, okay. Anyway, then the pain spread to my knees. And they were like really they were massive, they were red, like really swollen. And I went back to the doctor and I was like, that's not a repetitive strain injury.
Yeah, what are you doing there?
And then I remember they said to me, he was like, could this like be in your head? And I was like...
Those responses honestly just wind me up.
And I know like so many people go through that with all different like illnesses. And I was like, no. And I was like, when have I ever come here? Like, I never went to the doctor's price.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't somebody that was a hypochondriac, like nothing like that. And I was like, no, this is not in my head. Anyway, so I had to like really push for it. And then in the end, I kept getting kidney infections. And then I finally got tested when I was in hospital. I was in so much pain. And then they said, we think you might have something called lupus.
And did you know about it prior to it?
I'd never heard of it.
Yeah, because I've never actually heard of it before you mentioned it.
And I was like, well, what's that? And then they sort of explained that it's an autoimmune condition and it doesn't have a cure, so you'll have it forever. And I'm like 27 at the time, and I'm like, oh my God, like what? And then obviously you start Googling things.
Oh, the worst.
And it was if you were diagnosed 20 years ago, you were told that you were going to die within 5 years because it just ravages your body in the end. So I was like, obviously that's not the case. I mean, some people do still die from it, but if you're lucky enough to live in like the UK, you're probably going to be all right.
Yeah.
But getting your head around like this is a lifelong condition was just like
you just couldn't believe it was actually happening.
Yeah, like really difficult. And I was like, but I was having a great life, like, and now this thing's happened to me. And then I went through lots of trial and error with different medications. And yeah, with lupus as well, you have flare-ups, so you'll have times where you're really unwell, and then you'll have times where you're fine, and that can last for months, for weeks. You just don't know.
You just know when it's going to happen.
But I was for 8 years, so it was 13 years ago when I was diagnosed, and for 8 years I was like just ill the whole time.
Really? So what treatment did you get, and was it not really helping?
So I was they give you like anti-malarial drugs, which is random, but they figured out that it helps with rheumatoid arthritis, and lupus has similar symptoms.
Okay.
So I had anti-malarial drugs. I had this other drug, which was called mepicrine, which actually can turn your skin yellow and your tears pink.
What?
And I was like, I've got unicorn tears.
And were they actually pink? Were they coming out pink?
Yeah, but I didn't go yellow, but it like changed the colour of things.
That's quite cool though, to have
unicorn tears. It was quite good. And I love pink, so I was like, yeah. So that was a bit weird. And then I had chemotherapy tablets, which I know you had too.
Yeah.
So I took mine. Do you know what? I can't even remember now. I feel like it was weekly. And then I did lose my hair. I know you said you didn't lose your hair.
I lost mine, with radio, but not with the chemo tablets.
So I wasn't like bald, but like it would just fall out like all the time. So I just cut it all off. So I had like short hair for quite a while. And then I used to have a lot of steroids as well, which were the side effects were horrible. Like to get really angry, really moody, really hungry, like ravenous all the time. So I had lots of different things. And at one point I was on like 42 tablets a day. Bearing in mind, like prior to this, I didn't even really take paracetamol. I wasn't really like the kind of person that took medication.
So from that to 42 tablets a day, that's
it was
a lot.
Very like.
And how long was that for? Did you say 8 years?
8 years. I was on a lot of medication.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So once you're on the medication, where did it really go from there? When did it get to a point where it was working or it wasn't working? Because you said for 8 years you were just continuously ill. Did you sort of feel like it was never going to get better?
Yeah. So there were times when I would be okay, but it wouldn't last for long. It would be like a few weeks here and there where I'd be okay, and then I'd always like go out and have a great time and then suffer for it. There was a time I had one like really good spell for a few months, and so in the first year that I was diagnosed, they also told me that I wouldn't be able to have children because of how it affected me. And I had some complications of lupus as well, which one of them was that your blood can clot really easily. So they said if you get pregnant, there'll be like clotting around like the placenta, so the baby won't get oxygen. So you can get pregnant, but you're probably not going to like sustain a pregnancy.
And how did that make you feel when you got told that?
Oh my God, that was probably the most devastating out of everything, because like my whole life, I didn't really have like massive career aspirations. I just wanted to be a mum. I always thought I'll have an office job and I'll be a mum.
Yeah.
And that was kind of like all I'd ever really thought about doing. So that was like the biggest blow. And I knew my husband, who was my boyfriend at the time, I knew that he really wanted kids and a family, and he wasn't with me at that appointment, and he normally came with me, but I don't know why he didn't come with me, but he wasn't there. So then this was at St Thomas's Hospital, so then I had to walk across Waterloo Bridge, and I was just crying my eyes out, and I was like, what am I going to do? Like, how am I going to tell him this? And he's amazing. And I got home and I was just like, the doctors said this, and he was just like, we'll figure it out. We'll figure something.
Goosebumps.
He was like, we'll figure something out. And I was like, okay. And I remember saying to him, I was like, you don't have to be with me. I was like, I'm broken, I'm so poorly, and now I can't have kids.
Oh my God, that just gave me goosebumps again. That's so sad that you actually had to feel like that.
And he was just like, we'll figure it out. He was like, even if we adopt.
Wow.
And I was like, oh my God. That's when I was like, I need to keep this man forever.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So then I had this well spell for a few months. This was about a year later. And we were just like, should we just try anyway? I was like, you never know unless you give it a go, right? So we were prepared for like, I mean, obviously I don't think anything can really prepare you for the loss of a baby, but we were like, we know what we're going into. So we were like, let's try for baby. So we tried. I got pregnant straight away.
Wow.
So like, this is great. And actually, I want to share this just really quickly. But when I got pregnant, I not recently got into meditation. And I was like, I'm going to meditate and like imagine like the egg being fertilized and like everything.
What is that you were doing at the time?
Yeah. So I was like, I'm going to like imagine it. So, and in this like visual was this girl with long blonde curly hair.
Yeah.
And I never had a preference for like boy or girl
Yeah.
or anything like that, but it was really like a really strong image. And I was like, whoa, like that was weird. And then that night, there was like a meteor shower and we were like watching all these shooting stars. And I was like, oh, I wish for that blonde curly girl, not knowing I was actually pregnant. And I looked at her had her, everything was fine. I had scans every 3 weeks throughout the whole pregnancy to check everything was okay. Yeah. Everything was fine. And a bit like you said when you shared your story, everyone around me was nervous. And I was like, it's fine.
Yeah.
But I knew.
Yeah, you know it's going to be absolutely fine.
Almost like some people might have said I was delusional, but I was like,
no, but you just have that feeling inside you where people, like you said, people think you're delusional.
Yeah.
It's like, Jen, stop being so naive. Like, you don't know if it's, and you're like, you just have that feeling. And I feel like that's why, I feel like me and yourself, like, we just feel like connected to the universe where you just know. Yeah,
like I knew. Every time I went for a scan, my poor husband was in bits and I was like, it's fine, she's fine, everything's fine. So I had her, everything was great. And then, 3 years later, I was looking at her and I was like, oh my God.
This is the one
she's got big curly, like, blonde hair. And me and my husband don't have curly hair, so I don't know where, like, it's come. She's got like this big mane of blonde curly hair, and I was like, it was her.
So you basically manifested her into this
Yeah,
life.
or I knew like her soul was there. I don't know.
Wow, that's amazing.
But I like believe in all that stuff anyway. But I was like, even if you don't, like, that's so magical.
Wow, that is such a great story. So you completely, after being told you couldn't have children, you've now got 2 children?
Yep. So, and I remember when this doctor, who I love, but I remember when he said to me, you can't have children, I remember looking at him in the eye going, I fucking will.
You tell me no, I'm going to bloody do it. Not just 1, but 2.
Yeah, so I just remember even then I was like, I will. But obviously it was devastating to like hear that. So had her, pregnancy was amazing. Lupus completely went into remission. So I just felt like on top of the world.
So was it after pregnancy it went into remission?
So no, it was during the pregnancy.
Right.
So I felt amazing. I wasn't on any medication. I was completely fine. I was just like so energetic. Pregnancy was amazing.
Oh my God.
And then I had her, and then I think it's something to do with like the hormones and the drop in the hormones. And then I was really poorly, like badly, to the point where she'd be in the cot and I couldn't even lift her up because I was so weak and so in so much pain. Yeah. So luckily my mum lives close by, so she helped out a lot. My husband's amazing, he helped out a lot. And then just kind of dealing with motherhood and being ill. And then I remember one day looking in the cot and I was like, this can't be my life. And I was like, I need to show her like what women are made of. Yes. And I was like, I can't be lying around being like, oh, poor me all the time. And that was when everything changed and I decided I was going to set up a business. And then everything like went from there. That
is so amazing. So I think sometimes you do have to go through stuff to realise, what am I actually doing? Yes. And the fact you had her, like, I feel like she was your healer, where she made it completely disappear, obviously after you then got ill again. But then, like you said, seeing her in the cot, you were like, I need to turn this around. And was that your lowest point before you turned it around? Or do you think when you were actually initially diagnosed with it, like, well, out of all of it, what do you think the lowest point was?
I think the lowest point had to have been when they said I couldn't have children, because that was all I'd ever wanted.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't have any aspirations, like, really. It was just, like I said earlier, it was like, get married, have a nice home, have a baby. So that was like the worst point. And I remember that the lowest point was being at home and I was in the bath and I was in so much pain I couldn't even get out, so I just had to sit there. Like, my husband wasn't at home and the bath was just like cold and I was just crying in this cold bath. And I was like, I've got no life, I'm just a shell, because I don't do anything, I don't go anywhere, I'm just at home by myself all day. If my mum would be there, but I didn't really see my friends or anything like that. And that was partly me. I massively isolated myself during this time. And I was like, I've got no life, I'm not going anywhere, I've got no like future ahead of me, and now I can't have children. And I was like, what's the point? And I literally was like, I feel like suicide was a big word, but I was like, I don't want to live in that moment. And I haven't felt like that since, but in that moment I was like, I don't want to live, because what was the point? So that was like the lowest bit.
Yeah. Well, imagine if your self back then could see you now. I bet you'd be like, wow.
I don't think she would have comprehended like what, like the difference in the life that I thought I was going to have, that I'd sort of been sentenced to, compared to what I've actually turned it into.
That's amazing. Honestly, that's so amazing. So when you were actually told you'd been in remission, so was that after, because obviously you didn't have it when you were pregnant, and then after when you were ill again, was that because of lupus or was that something different?
Yeah, so that was like the lupus flared up massively. So I was very poorly again, on and off for ages. And then I got really back into like the meditation. And obviously I'm not saying like this is a cure or anything like that, but it helped me a lot. And it helped me with the pain. I think it helped my mind, which then also helped my body. And that, I feel like that was the kind of big change. So I got into meditation. I've always been very spiritual. I've always been into like astrology and tarot and stuff like that since I was a teen, but I'd never really explored this kind of stuff. And then I started like journaling a lot as well and getting my feelings out. And I found that was a massive like,
because you're releasing them rather than holding them in. Yeah,
so that was like a big change. And then I was well for ages. It was around 6 months.
Oh, really?
And then I got pregnant again. And I was like, well, this is a good time to be pregnant.
Yeah, like, you're like fully healthy,
like,
and
everything's good. And that pregnancy, it was rough. I was very sick for like 3 months. I was just sick every day. Like, it was horrible.
That is horrible.
And I had this toddler to look after. I was like, oh my God. But lupus had gone again. So I had no lupus symptoms actually since then.
Wow.
So this was 5 years ago. So I've had nothing since then.
That's amazing.
So then during that pregnancy, we did hypnobirthing. which is like you learn about birth and like how to cope with labour and stuff like that. And I loved it. It was so good. And you do a lot of like meditation with that as well. And because I talked about it so much, my husband was like, why don't you like teach it? And that can be like what you do.
Wow.
And I was like, yeah. And then I don't have to work for somebody else and try and deal with all of that. And that was when I set up my first business.
Wow. So that's one of 3. So you've created 3 now. So that was your first one. Do you want to speak about a little bit about not how you got into it, because you just said, but what that sort of involved?
So I did the hypnobirthing course like whilst I was pregnant. Mm-hmm. Gave birth to her, and the birth was just incredible. That was one of the best things I've ever experienced.
So what was it like? Was it not painful? Like, were you just meditating as you were?
So it was painful, but it was like powerful.
Really?
Like, so with Millie, my first, I had a really long labour, ended up having an epidural, and then I had a forceps, so she was like taken out with forceps.
Oh my God.
So that was quite. I wouldn't say it was traumatic. I feel like it looks traumatic on paper. It was, in my experience, it wasn't, but it was pretty rough. Like,
yeah, it sounds it.
So that was quite a lot to recover from and stuff as well. So that was partly why I did the hypnobirthing, because I was so scared to give birth, like terrified. So we did this hypnobirthing, learnt about birth, blah, 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 blah. And then I went into labour in the afternoon. So it must have been about 4, and by 7 she was in my arms.
Wow.
It was great. I loved it.
That's so quick.
So we got to the hospital. I got in like, I gave birth in like a pool of like warm water. Got in there and then just gave birth.
Oh my God. I bet you were like, how is this happening?
I
bet
you
weren't
so
like, how,
good.
but...
Like after she came out, I remember I looked at my husband and I was like, I would do that again.
That was easy.
It was so good.
So you would definitely recommend hypnobirthing to people?
I recommend it mostly because of how it makes you feel in your pregnancy, because it just made me feel so calm and relaxed. And it just empowers you to kind of give birth in the way that you want to. But you can use it for cesareans, any type of birth. It just makes you feel like calmer, basically.
Wow, that's great. And did you say that got to number 1?
Yeah, so then I had the hypnobirthing podcast, which was number 1 all around the world.
Wow, that's amazing.
So
that is actually amazing.
So after I'd given birth to Juliet, my second daughter, I was like, every woman needs to know about this. Like, I need to teach the world. So then I was like, I'd done the training whilst I was pregnant to teach it, and then I taught it for about a year, and then I put the podcast out there.
Wow. And what's it called? Is it still out there now?
Yeah, so it was Moon and Stars Hypnobirthing.
Wow. Because obviously you've sort of diverted from that now to create different businesses. So what was your next step?
So then after that, because like my business grew really quickly, my Instagram page grew, like I had like celebrities reaching out to me. Like it was really cool. At the time I was like, this is so great. Like,
so was it your like own personal page, or did you create a business page for the hypnobirthing?
I created a business page for the hypnobirthing.
Right, okay.
And then that was all I spoke about on there. And this was like before Reels and stuff as well. So it was quite a bit of a different time.
Yeah.
And I actually remember when Reels came out, I was like, oh no, I've got to do videos. I was so scared. I wasn't confident at all. So I was like so scared. So then that page grew really quickly and all these like crazy stuff happened. So then other hypnobirthing teachers like that I trained with or that kind of knew me through Instagram were like, oh, how are you doing this? Like, how are you doing so well? And then I was like, oh, maybe I could teach them. So then I set up a new page just for hypnobirthing teachers where I taught them how to like use Instagram for their business, how to get clients, everything like that. And then that just blew up. That was really successful as well. So then I didn't have time for the hypnobirthing anymore. Yeah. So I was like, I'm just going to leave that now and just focus on this. And then through that, I realised actually I could coach anyone on this. It doesn't have to be hypnobirthing teachers. Like any business owner, I can teach you how to use Instagram, how to grow your page, how to get clients, you know, all of how to set up a podcast, all of that stuff. So then I set up the page that I've got now about 2 years ago, and then that's just blown up as well.
Wow. Yeah, that page looks amazing. It's such
just like blown up.
Yeah, it's because how many followers are you on now?
I think it's in the 30s.
Yeah, I think it is because I looked beforehand, and so that was only 2 years ago, and you're already on around 30,000 followers, which is amazing. And your content's good. I feel like you're great. You're very consistent. You have different calls where you're sort of engaging with your audience a lot of the time.
Yeah, I just love it. I love like creating content. I love helping women. It's all about, and everything I've done, I realise is all about helping women use their voice and put themselves out there. Yeah,
because that's what I was going to ask. You're so about empowering women, which is amazing because women are bloody brilliant.
Women are the best.
They are. They really are. So you've done that. So what would you say the biggest mindset block for women or normally is that you want to try and deter them away from?
I think the thing I come across the most and the thing that I've struggled with the most is a fear of judgment. That's the one that stops people, and that's where a lot of everything else kind of comes from. It's that fear of being judged.
It's because you're so worried about what others going to think of you, but you never really, you judge some people, but you don't think about it for more than that second you're judging them. You don't spend your whole day thinking, oh my God, what's she doing on her Instagram? You don't think that no one cares.
I literally say to people, you're a millisecond in someone's day.
Yeah.
Like if I'm scrolling, I say to people as well, I'm like, do you remember what I posted 3 days ago? I don't even remember.
Yeah.
No. Don't worry, just say what you want to say.
Yeah, that is so true.
But also, I think it's important to also understand that people will judge you, but let them.
Exactly. Because that's not going to affect you. That's their own insecurities if they're judging you as well.
And I think the most important thing you can do is learn to love yourself. And when you truly do that, what other people think of you becomes less important. You don't need it.
That is literally what I go by, because if you do love yourself and you're confident with what you're doing and you've put your limiting beliefs to one side and think, no, they can just leave me alone, and you finally go for it. So even setting up this podcast, obviously I was nervous. I've got my own Instagram, but I've never put myself out there. And I was nervous, like, what are people going to think? Like, they're going to really judge me, how I'm going to look. And I'm like, I actually don't care now, because I'm confident with doing it. Once you actually just think, okay, I'm going to start, and you get through it, it's so much easier than you think, isn't it?
100%. And you have to go through it. There's no hack or any shortcut to this. You've just got to do it. And then when you do it and you realise that you survived and that you're okay, then you can push to the next level, and then you just keep going. And
then it's when you get hit by another struggle in life, you kind of say to yourself, if I got through that previous one, I can easily get through the next one.
Exactly. It's that self-belief, isn't it? But it comes from going through it.
Yeah, it definitely does. But sometimes what I hate about people, they always think like, oh, I'm only going through this, you've been through that, that's so much more. It's like, you don't have to compare what you've been through to other people. Because when I speak to people about my story, they say, oh, I've been like quite depressed recently because of this, but it's nothing compared to you. I'm like, oh my God, don't think that about yourself. It's not about, oh, I had stage 4 cancer, oh, but I had stage 3. Like, you can't, it's not all relative to each other. What you go through is your own personal situation and how you deal with it. And I hate that some people compare it, but you're still struggling. So with people struggling, what sort of advice would you give, like your main advice to them to get through stuff? Because I think yours started with meditation.
I think, it's about finding a way, finding something. It might be meditation, it might be journaling, it might be going out for walks in nature. Like, I don't know. It's about finding something that helps you have like one positive thing a day. And gratitude, and I know you're into gratitude as well. Like, definitely. Gratitude is everything.
Yeah, it is.
And it's not about like the toxic positivity. Like, you're allowed to feel shit and you're allowed to be in that. But sometimes just thinking about, what am I grateful for today? And then you realise how much you have. And that was a game changer for me as well. When I used to do my journaling, I used to like write like gratitude lists. Yeah. And that is powerful.
It is so powerful. And I do it before I go to bed. So I do it before, my routine going to bed now is, well, not now, it's been for quite a while. I put my phone on Do Not Disturb so I get in, because no screen time in bed, because I feel like that just messes your sleep up anyway. And then I'll try and read about 10 pages and do a meditation, like a sleep meditation. It's really good, because if you have one on Spotify, you can put your alarm where it's like, after 10 minutes, stop playing.
Yeah.
And then it's like, you don't have to try and turn it off. I'm always just fall asleep so quick. But I'll do the gratitude before the meditation. Then I feel like I'm literally like buzzing in bed, because you're so happy about things you've done in that day. Even if you've done nothing all day, just saying, I'm grateful I had dinner tonight. Like, the fact you've literally got food and you brushed your teeth with water running out your tap.
Like, it
is crazy.
And that's what helped me a lot through like lupus and stuff, because I'd be there like in agony, like crying in pain, but then I'd be like, but I'm so grateful that I've got my husband who's going to come home and like look after me, or I'm grateful that I've got this comfy warm bed. And you just start, like how I started off was with like 10 things a day. And at first it's like the obvious, like my home, like your car, like your family. And then after a while, you're like, on like the 4th day, you're like, oh, I can't think of 10 more things. But then it starts to come to you.
Yeah.
And now I don't even write lists anymore. It's just, I literally have a shower in the morning and I'm just thinking about what I'm grateful for.
That's so good. Because I think the more you, at the beginning, like you said, it's very much just basic things, house, family. But I think the more you practice it, the more deep you sort of dive into it, and you pick up such small things. Yeah. Like tiny things. Like even the fact we're sat here with all this equipment. I mean, that's not so tiny, but like you would never normally just think of things like that.
No, it's like, like just things that you take for granted, I suppose.
Yeah.
And but when I used to do my gratitude list, and I think this is important as well, is I used to write whys. Instead of just like, I'm grateful for my bed, I'd be like, because it's warm and it's cozy and I get to sleep and it's safe. And I think the more you do that, the more it like raises that frequency.
Yeah, oh, definitely. No, I completely agree with that one. And if you were to go back and give advice to yourself when you were going through lupus, or anyone listening now who is going through it, what would you say to them?
I'd just give her like the biggest cuddle, and I'd just be like, babe, it's going to be all right. Like, you'll find a way to make it all right. And you do. But what other choice have you got?
Literally, you don't.
And I think like we can share our stories, and like your story is incredible, and people are like, whoa, like how did she do that? How did she get through that? But you find a way. Because you don't, what other choice have you got?
I know, and I feel like it always, at the end of the day, it always comes back to the mindset. That is like the tool you have in life that you can use.
Yeah.
Because this recent quote I've seen, it's like you can either let life shape you or you can shape your own life. And that is how powerful the mindset is. You can sit there and be like, oh, my life's so shit, I'm not going to get out of this, I may as well just sit here and cry every day. Or you can be like, no, that's a bloody waste of life doing that. You may as well try, because you don't know what you're going to get until you try.
Yeah. And like, I think for me, like the point I got to where I was like, I need to like do something with my life, was having my daughter, and my second daughter as well, like, was a catalyst for it all. And I think it was partly because they are daughters. I was like, they need
It's
to
like
see
little
like,
younger
what
versions
women
of
can
you.
do. Yeah. But what was it for you that kind of made you go, right, I have to make this, like, I have to turn this into something positive?
I think because, I mean, I'm quite grateful. My mental health has always been quite good. And I think with me, my story, when we found out everything it was and like how scary it was, I'm such an empathetic person. Like, everyone around me, when I could see my family, my friends getting upset, I was like, I want to go through this so I can like make them happy as well. And I can prove doctors wrong saying, oh, you may live until this age, you may do this. I think I just had that empowerment where I was like, I need to get through this and just prove them wrong, because I can't just sit there. And because I'm so into the law of attraction as well, reading The Secret, I'm so aware that if you're going to sit there being negative and sad, you're literally going to be vibrating on that frequency, and that's the energy you're going to bring into your life. So I was like, I've heard so many stories where people have got through stuff. I'm like, why can't I just give it a try? And then when I did, and it all literally, like, it couldn't have gone any better. Like, I'm clear now. I couldn't ask for any better way to come out of it. Then I thought, okay, well, if I've got through this, let me create a podcast and have different guests about what they've been through. Because if I was hearing this when I was going through it, I'd be like, oh my God, I can do it. So if someone's listening right now with lupus, they're going to be like, okay, she's done it, why can't I? Which I think is the best thing, that you've now created all of this content and you're on this podcast now speaking about it, because you're going to help so many people.
And do you know, it's really interesting because I don't really talk about it that much. And I wrote in my journal, I was like, I need to put my story out there, I need to go on podcast. And then I saw your Instagram.
Yeah.
You did like a reel or something where you were like calling, like finding people, and I was like, oh my God, that's so weird. It was literally the same day.
That is amazing.
And I was like, oh my God, I've got to message you straight away. And then like, here we are.
Yeah, no, that is so good. I'm so happy you've come from that. You're the first one that's come through that post, actually.
Oh, that's
so I had
good.
loads of people messaging, but I mean, which has been amazing, but it's hard to fit everyone in because it gets so busy.
Yeah.
No, you're the first one off of that post. I'm so happy I've done it, because his story's been amazing.
Oh, thank you.
And have you got any sort of goals or new business ideas for the future going forward?
I think I'm finally settled in like what I'm doing, because I've sort of done the hypnobirthing and then the mentoring, the hypnobirthing teachers, and then doing what I'm doing now.
Oh yeah, what's your page as well?
Oh, so it's just my name. So it's Faye, Faye, and then my surname, which is Ceyhan, which is actually pronounced Ceyhan, even though it's a C.
Oh, really? Where's that from?
My husband's Turkish, so it's a Turkish surname. And then I've got like, my kind of business is the Bad Bitch Academy. So I basically help women to get out of their comfort zones and be like what I call like their higher self. So the version of themselves that they really want to be, like their full potential selves. And that's like what I do.
So what does that include, being part of that academy?
So I do lots of different things. I've got like group coaching. I've got a membership where we do a Sunday circle every week, and we do like journaling, and I pull like tarot cards, and we just chat, and normally bring some kind of theme, like it might be like get out of your comfort zone, for example, and then we'll have like a challenge for the week. And then I do like one-to-one coaching as well, where I help business owners mostly with like Instagram and mindset, so just helping people put themselves out there and do what they really want to do. And that is like my main passion, and that I think I'm settled in that now, I'm pretty sure.
That's amazing.
So goals wise, I'm not really sure. I've just really been like, the last 6 months, I've just been trying to get clear on everything. So I think it's like sharing my story more, because I don't think I realised how inspirational it is.
It's like you get that imposter syndrome. You think, okay, but that's happened, but I don't think it's anything
no
crazy.
one wants to hear about this.
But that is so amazing. I think the fact how it's led you down to this path where you are now, if you didn't go through it, you would not be sat here right now.
No.
Like, you wouldn't.
So I think, I just want to continue to like inspire women to be their best selves in lots of different ways. And I remember listening to this podcast, actually, Stephen Bartlett one. He was on with Mo Gaudat. And Mo Gaudat's like this happiness guru. And he was saying that if you ask people that have been through something like what you've been through and things that I've been through, they'll normally say they're actually grateful for it. You get to a point, obviously not when you're in it, because but like you get to a point where you think, actually, because you realise if that didn't happen, then what you're doing now wouldn't have happened. And it's I think that's a powerful place to be, when you can look back at something really traumatic and be like, actually, I'm happy about it.
Yeah, that is so powerful. It's just so hard. Like, if someone's listening now going through something, you think that's I'm just different, that's not going to happen to me. It will, if you navigate it the right way. Like, if you navigate through it with the mindset that I'm feeling really shit now, but I will feel better, eventually with time, healing is a whole process. It will actually come at one point.
Yeah, you've got to decide though, haven't you?
Yeah, you have to make that decision. Am I going to sit here and get the little tiny violins out?
That was me, like literally there with my violin, like crying.
And look at you now,
full on victim mode for quite a long time.
It
like
is the victim
quite a few
mode.
years. I was in like, why is this happening to me? Like, and it's hard. And if somebody's listening that's in it, it's really hard. And but you've got to show yourself some love, and you've got to decide, and you've got to like pull your big girl knickers up a little bit, haven't you? And be like, what, I'm doing this.
You definitely do. And it's so amazing to see a woman like you, just to show how empowering you are, and that you're helping other women around you. It's like, we need more women like this.
Oh, honestly, yeah, we do. And this is why I love doing group coaching with women. I love getting groups of women together.
So it's so powerful.
Where even that alone, without me doing all the coaching and whatever, that alone is so powerful. When women come together who truly are there to support each other and lift each other up, it's amazing. But we're not taught to do that, are we? So it just, even that is an act of rebellion, like deciding that you're going to support other women.
Yeah, that is amazing. Because when women coming together, it's like a whole... I feel like it's so much more empowering than... I mean, men are great, but I feel like the force of when women come together, that is just...
It's actually magical.
Something else. And you must feel so great doing that as your job and helping other women, because you must feel so uplifted at the end of the sessions.
I literally cry like every day.
Oh, do you?
I'm like, I'm so grateful, this is my life.
Oh.
I literally, like, where my bedroom is, like, the moon's always like right there, and I literally open my window and I look at... People must think I'm actually insane. My neighbours must be up there, she's again talking to the moon, and I
think you're a little werewolf or something.
They must think I'm insane. So I literally open the window and I'm looking at the moon. I'm like, I'm so thankful, I'm so grateful. Like, I just go through it like every night, and then I go and look at my girls and check they're asleep, and I look at them and I'm like, I'm so grateful for you.
Oh, that's
and I
amazing.
do that every night, and like, I'm every day is like a pinch me moment. I'm just so grateful. And like, when I came here, I was like, oh, I'm so grateful that for this space, to be able to share this story, and like just to meet other people that get it.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I bet your girls are going to grow up thinking like, my mum is great.
Well,
is so
my
amazing.
eldest daughter thinks I'm cringe at the moment.
She'll get over that though. I feel like when you're growing up, you get to that point where you either hate your mum, you think she's cringe and embarrassing, but then once you get past that, you're like, oh my God, she's the best.
She's like, she thinks I'm cringe and embarrassing, and she doesn't really believe in, like, I've got all like crystals and like, I love all my spiritual stuff, and she's like, oh. She's like 8, and she's like, oh. And I'm like, do you know I'm a witch? And she's like, no, you're not. So I'm in the cringe phase at the moment.
She'll come out of it though, and she'll be like, oh my God, what? She's not cringe, she's bloody brilliant.
But my 4-year-old thinks I'm like the best thing ever. So
that is so sweet. Well, I'm so happy you actually finally had 2 beautiful daughters after being told you never could.
My heart, when I think about them, it's just, I'm just so grateful.
Oh, that is amazing. But honestly, your story, you're so great. I'm so happy to have you here on this podcast.
Thank you.
You've absolutely smashed the whole thing. You've got so much more to come ahead of you. And so if you could give one task for listeners to do this week to make them feel good, what sort of task would you give?
Gratitude. Get on that gratitude flex. Write a gratitude list. Think about things you're grateful for. Do a gratitude meditation.
Yeah, there's good gratitude meditations, isn't there?
They're gorgeous as well. You know what, as well? If you're feeling like really jealous of somebody or you're comparing yourself to somebody, doing a gratitude meditation for them is really good as well.
Really? What do you mean?
So like you can I can't remember like what you call it, but I'm sure if you like just Googled it, something would come up. But you can do like a gratitude meditation where you like actually thank them for like highlighting something that you want.
Oh, really?
And that's really powerful as well.
Wow, I've never thought of it like that. Because it's when you're jealous of someone, it is your own insecurities.
Yeah, they're just highlighting something that you want.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you're ever feeling like that, gratitude meditation, that's really good. Just gratitude in general. Just
that is always the best one. And that's where you start, because the more gratitude you do, the higher you're vibrating, and you're literally going to bring everything into your life.
100%.
Oh, that is the best one. That's probably my one I would actually recommend as well. And what about your favourite song? What makes you feel good? So everyone can cue it up after this.
Anything. I couldn't choose one, but I would just say anything by Queen Herbie. If you do not know who Queen Herbie is, oh my God, you'll love her.
Really?
Oh my God. So she's an American rapper, but she also sings. She has an amazing singing voice, and she's into like she sings about like manifestation and energy and gratitude, and like she loves all like the spiritual stuff.
Oh my God, I'm going to listen to her.
And she's just amazing. I love her so much. Oh my God, and she actually liked one of my reels. I nearly
died.
No way. I nearly died.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
I've been like fangirling her for like a couple of years, and then she liked one of my reels. I was like, oh my God.
You are literally bringing her into your life.
I am. So yeah, she's awesome. Listen to her songs.
So any of them?
Anything by her.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, I'll be definitely listening to that on my way home after this as well.
You'll love it.
Yeah. Oh my God, I'm excited. Well, that's the end of the episode. Thank you so much for coming on here today. That went so great.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for listening.
Yeah, but thank you everyone else for listening as well to this amazing woman. And yeah, you should be so proud of yourself, how you've got through this.
Oh my gosh, so should you. And
set
what you're
this.
doing a podcast and like getting it all out there. I love it.
Well, yeah, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you everyone for listening.
Thank you.
Bye.